Key Nation, what's going on, man? It's your boy Manuel Keen, and today I want to sit here and talk to y'all about the 5 tips that I came up with. Practical tips, by the way. We're not going on the computer and fiddling with frequency responses and signal responses. I want to show y'all and tell y'all exactly what you guys need to do in order to get a professional sound and mix, man. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Fade that like button, we a movement, boy. Let's get it. Alright, y'all, so the very first tip that I got for y'all today is learn the ins and outs of your box. Learn the ins and outs of your DAW. What does that mean? Not everybody has Pro Tools. Not everybody has Logic Pro. Not everybody has the industry standard software that you're supposed to use in order to record, right? So some people have Cubase, some people have Studio One, some people have Audacity. It doesn't necessarily matter. Just as long as you're recording with something, then you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? As an audio engineer and or producer. So learn the ins and outs of it. And the reason why I say that is because there's functions and functionalities within the software that amateurs aren't going to know. And if you want to become more of a professional engineer, you need to learn those functions so that you can separate yourself from the rest. If you do not do that, you're not putting yourself in the position to become a more professional sounding engineer. I had to learn this. I didn't know half of the things that I know now on Logic Pro X. That's what I've been working with since I was 16. I'm cap. 19, something like that. 19, 20, something like that. You feel me? I'm not that old. I'm 26. Okay, so I'm not too far away from that. But anyways, 19, 20 is when I first started working with Logic Pro X, and I had no idea what to do. And just like every other amateur engineer, you're not going to know what to do when you first start off, right? You want to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing, especially when you have artists come into the studio and they want to record and they want to do this, that, and the third. They want you to punch in here. They want you to put them back 3 bars. They want you to do this, they want you to do that, they want you to put in this instrumental, they want you to do this with the mix. You have to learn the ins and outs of your DAW in order to do it. What's the buffer size, the sample size, what's the better recording delay? All these types of things are going to factor into you becoming a better engineer, and the way that you do that is by learning the ins and outs of whatever you're recording on. So that's tip number 1, right? Tip number 2. And even though this is practical, right? I'm not going into the box and teaching y'all. I'm just teaching y'all practical learning tips on how to become a professional sounding engineer. Tip number 2, you need to treat your mixing environment. Okay? You need to treat your mixing environment. If you watch my previous tutorials, you know how ample I feel on treating your mixing environment. It is the very thing that a lot of amateurs don't think about when they first start recording or when they first start mixing or mastering. Whatever the situation is, they don't think about their mixing environment, which I completely understand because treating your mixing environment is expensive. But at the end of the day, if you're willing to spend $1,000 on a microphone, $700 on a preamp, $800 on monitors, you need to spend that extra $500 to $1,000 on treating your mixing environment. I promise you, that is literally the key. That's literally the key to becoming more professional, right? If you have a homeboy, you sitting in your car and you say, "Hey, bro, I want you to hear my homeboy. He go hard. Like, way that he spit his flows and this is that and the third. Like, this is hard, bro. I need you to listen to it." Okay, cool. You listen to it and it literally sounds like a homeboy. It don't sound like Future or Lil Baby or Gunna or whatever. Literally sound like your homeboy. And that subconsciously triggers into your mind. Why does that subconsciously trigger into your mind? Because there is a distinct sound whenever you listen to amateur music and whenever you listen to professional music. Why do you say that? Go to SoundCloud. Okay, no disrespect to the SoundCloud rappers. There's plenty of SoundCloud rappers out there that have a professional sound. But I don't want to say for the most part, you definitely find more of that amateur sound on SoundCloud, more so than a professional sound. And that's because they don't have their mixing environment or their recording environment treated. And as a mixing engineer, as a mastering engineer, as an audio engineer slash producer in general, you need to have your environment treated so that the frequency responses, I gotta say this over and over again, so that the frequency responses, your signal responses, everything is an accurate representation of what you're actually listening to, so that you know how to do surgical procedures whenever you're mixing inside of the box, right? Because if you don't have accurate representation of what you're listening to, then your mix is gonna suck, bro. It's going to suck. That's why when you go into the car and you say, "Oh, this don't sound like how it sounded in the studio," or you have other people that listen to it and be like, "Hey, this is dope, but something about it is just missing." They don't necessarily know how to translate that because they're not audio engineers, but that's that subconscious thing, right? You have to treat your mixing environment. It is so important. I have to say this countless times, and for the people that's watching, you understand how I feel about this, right? You have to treat your mixing environment, okay? That's number 2. Number 3, get a mentor. Get a mentor. That is so important. You don't know everything, bro. You do not know everything. And I ain't gonna lie to you, man. To me, myself, I think sometimes that, okay, when I've reached a plateau, or if I think I know exactly what I'm doing, you don't, bro. You don't. There's always more things to learn, and placing myself in that position, placing myself in environments where I literally am in a class now, that I've paid for, but it also is a blessing because now I have a network of Grammy Award winning producers and engineers that are literally at my fingertips. I can ask them questions and stuff like that in terms of mixing and mastering. But I say all of that to say, expand your network. There's always somebody that knows more than you, and you don't necessarily know. You don't necessarily know everything, okay? Let me say that. You don't know everything. There's somebody that's always going to know more than you, and then the more that you place yourself in that environment, the more you're going to realize, holy hell, I'm trying to stop cussing. The more you're going to realize, holy hell, there are so many things to learn about audio engineering, and you haven't even scratched the surface. Just when you think, okay, I know how to do this, I know how to do that, I know how these plugins work, you haven't even scratched the surface yet. And you will realize that when you place yourself in that environment, and when you get a mentor that says, okay, you should do this, you should do that, put this plug in here, there's some analog hardware that you might be able to use in order to make your sound better. There's this that you can do to make your sound better. So many things, bro, but you don't even know that because you don't have a mentor, right? So when you do what you do and you learn what you can learn, yeah, you can learn what you can learn, but if you have a mentor that can physically teach you or literally reach out to you and be like, okay, bro, I heard your mix. This is what you can do to fix this. Let me recommend you some plugins or some hardware or whatever you need to do in order to make your sound better, right? You have to have a mentor that's well versed in this stuff, bro. That is super duper important. Always be willing to expand your network. That mentor might know another audio engineer. That audio engineer might know another producer. This is that and the third. They all have something that you don't know. Exploit that. Take advantage of it, okay? That is number 3. Number 4, always be willing to learn, right? Watch tutorials, okay? Now, I guess this kind of ties into number 3 as far as getting a mentor and willing to learn from a mentor and everything like that. But watch tutorials. Take self-accountability and always be willing to learn more about your craft. Always be willing to improve. That is so important. Always be willing to improve because your product is good. Your product could be, the best that it could be, but it could always be better. And the way that your product can always be better is by you going and watching. I'm telling you, I was discussing this with the homie Swole the other day, which is another audio engineer that we talk frequently. And we sit there and we watch tutorials on how to become better engineers for 4 to 5 to 6 hours on end just to learn, bro. Just to learn. That's super duper important. Sit there, watch tutorials, learn, and be willing to consume as much information as possible just so that, once you have your mixes and your songs and stuff like here in the box, and you're ready to expand on your clientele, you know exactly what to do because you've watched so many tutorials, and now you're implementing what you're watching into your actual clientele and your work. So that's very, very important. And the last tip, tip number 5, excuse me, tip number 5, it sounds cliche, but love it. You have to love what you're doing. If you do not love what you're doing, I hate doing this, but it's so true though. It's so true. I don't even like to use this tip, but like at the end of the day, it's very, very true, man. You have to love what you're doing, bro. If you don't love what you're doing, then it's not gonna be fun. You're not gonna enjoy it. You're not gonna get a rush whenever I'm getting a rush talking about this right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to love what you're doing. I'm not gonna lie, I work specifically and solely more so towards hip-hop, R&B, pop music. That's within my genre. That's what I enjoy listening to, what I like to mix, and what I like to mess around whenever I have different types of plugins and just explore, because that's the lane that I grew up listening to, and that's what I thoroughly enjoy doing. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I get, you know, if I'm mastering is a different thing. Mastering I kind of just enjoy in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can master anything, country, rock, pop, jazz, R&B, whatever. I can master anything. But when it comes down to mixing, I'm going to prefer to mix rap, hip hop, R&B, and pop vocals because I enjoy listening to that, right? If I'm, you know, country and rock and stuff like that, I'll do it if I have to, but preferential. I don't know if that's a word. If that is, comment down below and let me know. But my preference is to mix down R&B, rap, hip hop, pop, that type of stuff, because I enjoy listening to it, right? So that's what that is, man. Those are the 5 practical tips that I have for becoming a better professional sounding engineer. 5 practical tips to get a more professional sound. Please let me know what else I could have touched on. I'm just thinking about things that I've thought, and I had to sit down and realize, like, and think about, okay, what can I do? What can I say in order to help you become a better audio engineer, as well as myself? Because the more that I talk about it, the more that I learn myself too, as well. And also, please like the video, y'all. Please subscribe for more content, bro. And that's pretty much all I got for y'all today. I actually have a special video that I'm gonna be bringing out to y'all next week. So please stay in tune for that. And I will be opening up mixing and well, I already am. Please, if you have anything that you want mixed or mastered, make sure that you go down below, hit me up in the email or my DMs. I got my Instagram and my Twitter linked. If you want to just slide on my DMs and say, yo, I need this mixer mastered, please do that. It's in the description, or my email as well. But I will be launching a website very, very soon, and that's going to have the forms and everything that you need to fill out so that the process is easier. You can just go on my website, say, hey, Ken, I need this mixed, or hey, Ken, I need this mastered, and we can get that popping for you, man. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm going to see y'all in the next video. Gang.